Have you ever felt like stepping into the world of investing is kind of like walking into a giant supermarket? Endless aisles, thousands of choices, confusing labels. Well, today we're going to demystify two of the most popular items on those shelves, stocks and mutual funds. So let's grab a cart and figure out what belongs in it.
We're going to break this down into 5 simple parts. We'll start at, you guessed it, the starting line, then we'll look at what a stock really is, then a mutual fund. After that, we'll put them head to head, and finally, help you figure out which one might be right for you.
So, let's kick things off at the entrance. Just imagine the entire investment world is this huge, bustling supermarket, and your goal? It's simple. Fill your cart with things that are going to grow in value over time.
But the second you walk through those automatic doors, you're hit with choices. All these different names and packages, stocks, mutual funds. It's totally normal to feel a little lost. So where do you even begin? Well, let's start with the most basic item on the shelf.
And that brings us to our next section. What exactly is a stock? To get our heads around this, let's just focus on one single item in the whole store, an apple.
Okay, so at its very core, a stock is just a tiny piece of ownership in one single company. When you buy a share of, say, Apple Inc., you literally own a tiny, tiny fraction of that company. We're talking its buildings, its patents, its brand, all of it.
And this is where our little supermarket analogy really clicks. Buying a stock, it's just like picking out one single specific apple. You choose the variety you like, you check it for bruises, and you decide, yep, this is the one I want. All of your attention is on this one piece of fruit.
And that gets right to the heart of what it means to own a stock. You have direct ownership, which means you make all the decisions. If you pick a winning company, that one apple could become incredibly valuable. Sometimes the company even shares its profits with you, which is what investors call a dividend. But, and this is a big but, if that company struggles, you're pretty much left with a rotten apple. All the risk and all the potential reward is packed into that one choice you made.
All right, time to move on to the next aisle. So, if a stock is a single apple, what's a mutual fund? Well, think of it as the pre-made fruit basket.
See, a mutual fund is a totally different concept. It's a collective thing. A fund company takes a little money from thousands of investors, people just like you and me, and pools it all together into one giant pot. Then, a professional manager uses that huge pool of money to buy a whole collection of different investments. We're talking dozens, sometimes hundreds of different stocks, bonds, you name it.
So instead of carefully picking out that one perfect apple, you're basically buying a basket that a pro has already put together for you. It might have some apples, some oranges, a few bananas, some grapes, all in one. You get all that variety without having to inspect every single piece of fruit yourself.
And that right there is the big appeal. Instant diversification. If one apple in that basket is a little bruised, it doesn't really matter, right? Because you've still got the oranges and the bananas to back you up. And since it's professionally managed, an expert is doing all the heavy lifting for you. Some of these managers try to find the absolute best fruit out there to get the best returns. Others, in what's called an index fund, just try to give you a perfect sample of the entire produce section. It's really all about convenience.
Okay, so we've got our single apple and we've got our fruit basket. Now it's time for a direct comparison. Let's think of this as reading the nutrition label on both of them to see exactly what's inside.
Let's break it down. With a stock, your ownership is direct. It's your apple, your company. But with a mutual fund, it's indirect. You own a small piece of the whole basket, not the individual fruits. This leads to the biggest difference, diversification. A single stock has zero diversification. A mutual fund, on the other hand, is diversified from the get-go. Then there's management. With stocks, you're the manager, doing it all yourself. With funds, you're hiring a pro to do it for you. And finally, cost. Stocks usually have a small one-time fee to buy or sell. Funds have a small ongoing fee to pay for that professional management. So, if we had to boil this entire thing down to one single essential idea, it's this. Stocks give you direct control over one company. Mutual funds give you built-in diversification across many of them. That's the trade-off, really, control versus convenience.
And that brings us to our final, and let's be honest, most important part, checking out. Now that you know the difference, how in the world do you decide what to actually put in your cart?
Look, there's no single right answer here. It really depends on what you, as the shopper, are looking for. Are you the kind of person who really enjoys the process of picking out each item yourself? Or do you just prefer the convenience of a pre-made, curated selection? So here's a simple way to think about it.
You might be a stock person if you genuinely enjoy doing the research, if you have a strong belief in a specific company, and if you want to be in the driver's seat. But on the other hand, you might be a mutual fund person if you'd rather be invested broadly, spread out your risk instantly, and just let a professional handle all the day-to-day decisions for you.
And really, that's the fundamental difference. A stock is a focused bet on a single company that you choose. A mutual fund is a broad collection chosen for you. Neither one is better or worse. They're just different tools for different jobs. So now that you know how to read the labels, the only question left is, what are you going to put in your cart?